Welcome to the channel. Today, we're exploring some unbelievable story. Stay tuned and let's dive in. We got married. I had been stationed abroad and had sent Emma a letter inviting her to marry me. We had both bought into our church ethos, which encouraged all of us to marry and have children. The difficulty was that her mother disliked me from the start. She was nice, even pleasant, in public, but it was evident that she believed her kid deserved more. But Emma thought I was the only one who would ever ask her to marry, so she said yes. The day before the wedding, her mother and I were alone in the home together. She remarked, "You know, I don't really like the thought of Emma marrying you. I don't believe you'll be a good husband." I said, "I will be a decent husband." She asked, "Are you certain your daughter will be a good wife?" I said, "I'm sure. I reared and trained her, she'll be a nice wife." She said, "He'll be watching to see how wonderful a husband you are." The wedding was not particularly large. Most of my buddies from before I joined the military had moved elsewhere, and we had lost contact. Emma wasn't the most popular girl in town. She was quiet, introverted, and seemed to fit in rather than stand out. We were moved 4 days after the wedding to my new duty post, which was 1,000 miles away from Mom. Mom did not like that. I think everything went quite nicely for us. I was promoted 3 times during the following 4 years. We went to another duty station, a Pacific island, and began a family. When we went on leave, we returned home. Her parents, brother, and sister resided 5 miles from my parents and sister. Our relationship deteriorated with each visit back home. When she spent time with her mother, she concluded that I was not a good enough spouse. Her mother pointed out items she felt I should have provided but didn't. I was pursuing a job in the military, which required me to relocate every 3 years. Her mother made certain Emma saw the home her brother purchased for his marriage. She often remarked that it was the husband's responsibility to provide a secure house for his wife. She gave us photos of the home her sister's husband had purchased her. She pointed out that we lived in government housing as if it were a requirement of receiving aid. When I was sent to a conflict zone, Emma and our 2 small children were encouraged to return home with Mom. Instead, I arranged for them to live in an apartment near our parents and flew there for a year. I did not remain the whole year. With 75 days remaining, I got a round in my leg, which sent me home. I was hospitalized for 3 days before being sent back to the mainland for additional rehabilitation and recuperation. Between being wounded and returning home, Emma's mother continued to lecture me on how stupid and dumb I was to risk my life in the service. She encouraged Emma to get me out of the military and into a legitimate career. I arrived home to hear that talk. Emma and her mother were aware that I intended to pursue a career in the military when we married, and Emma supported that decision. After 2 months of rehab near my house, I was certified for service again, and we were stationed to a base less than 3 hours away. Emma felt joyful again, and the pressure eased somewhat. Near the end of 1974, I was sent back to a conflict zone not for a full tour, but for 30 days. Because what I was doing was classified, I could only tell Emma where I was going and how long I would be gone, not where I was going or what I would do once I there. She was concerned, but she was reassured by the fact that I would only be gone for a month. That trip marked the end of my military career. I was shot again. The bullet went through my shoulder and caused enough damage that doctors declared I couldn't continue to serve in the military. I was medically retired. My 1-month vacation evolved into 5 months in the hospital, 3 operations, many months of physical rehabilitation, and a return to civilian life. The scars were nasty. Emma wept each time she saw them. For over a year after I returned, we moved into a rented home 4 miles from our parents' houses, and I started seeking for employment. A religious buddy helped me get a job. It was intriguing, hard job that paid rather well. I imagined Mom would be relieved I was out working. Her daughter was nearby, so she got to be grandma. I was mistaken. She grumbled about me often. I got to know Emma's brother and his family better, and at one time, I asked him whether Mom was harsh on him, too. He confessed that Mom had never liked me. He also stated that he had overheard her scheme to pull Emma out of the marriage. She had said that Emma would be better off as a single mother than married to me. She had mentioned it more than once. Emma's sister's husband, James, and I became good friends as well. He could not understand why Mom despised me, but he was aware of it. He was glad I caught the heat since he knew it saved him. We made light of the situation at ball games, picnics, and other occasions when it was just our kids and the two of us. Everything came to a head the year our son Daniel graduated from high school. He graduated and entered college within a month. He was an excellent student and a decent soccer player. Soccer had earned him a scholarship. Emma approached me after he had been gone for 4 months, expressing her desire for a divorce. The church teaching made it plain that divorce was unacceptable. When you were married, you were supposed to tough it out, stick together, and work out your issues. I wanted to know why she wanted a divorce. She acknowledged I was a nice spouse. She acknowledged that I was a decent parent. Her excuse for seeking a divorce was that she was bored of being a wife and did not love me. I urged that we seek counseling treatment or other forms of help. The response was no. Emma and our kid remained in the home. I have a modest flat. Almost every time I phoned the home after moving out, Mom answered. Almost every time I phoned, I was informed Emma and Sophia were not home. They did not call back. I had been secluded from my family. I parked down the street from my old residence and phoned it. Mom said that Emma was not present. 10 minutes later, they strolled out, got in Mom's vehicle, and drove away. She lied. It occurred so often that I devised a plan to visit Sophia on her way home from school a few times each week. I informed her what Grandma was doing, but she didn't believe me. A month later, I gave her my phone bill, which included 28 calls to her house that lasted less than 1 minute each. She went home and asked Grandma whether I had ever phoned to beg for her. Grandma claimed I did not call. She stated she hadn't communicated with me in months. Sophia asked her mother whether she had ever spoken to me. Her mother replied that as long as the checks continued coming, she didn't need or want to speak with me. Sophia and I had a friendship based on honesty, which we both understood was better maintained from Grandma and Emma. I talked to my kid sometimes while he was in school. He made the mistake of disclosing that we had spoken when he returned home for Thanksgiving. The firestorm that ensued sent him 2 signals. He was not to speak to me, and he should never mention my name again. When he returned to school, his phone number changed, and my letters were returned as undeliverable. I went to 2 of his soccer games, and he didn't spend any time with me except to thank me for attending. There was no discussion about family, his life, my life, school, or anything. From then on, I attended games and made sure he saw me, but I never approached him. If he needed me, I was available, and he was aware of this. Sophia called me once when she was 21 years old. She asked me to meet the young guy she had been dating. She was serious about him. On one of their dates, I met them at a restaurant for supper. I liked him. He was obviously in love with Sophia, and they were about to marry. I asked him a lot of fatherly questions, and he provided many excellent responses. At the conclusion of supper, I stated, "You two should probably not tell Grandma or your mother that we had dinner. I don't believe they'd be pleased." Sophia responded, "They should grow accustomed to you being in my life. When we marry, I want you to walk me down the aisle." Hearing her say that moved and overwhelmed me. Her young guy said, "I am aware of the dispute, and we are prepared for the heat. Will you walk her down the aisle? You choose the time and location, and I will be there." They chose a date and began preparing the wedding. Sophia learned how powerful Grandma's influence was on her mother throughout the planning. Emma would agree to something when Sophia discussed it with her, and the following day, when Emma spoke with her mother, everything changed. Sophia and Liam surprised me during a family meal at Grandma's place. The discourse had revolved around flowers, food, and dancing. When Mike said Sophia and I want her dad to walk her down the aisle, the home was silent for a long time. Finally, Grandma said, "If that man is going to attend the wedding, you can count me out." Sophia answered, "He is my father, and I will not live under the same roof as him. It's my wedding. He is welcome to join me if I so want. I will miss you if you do not go, but he has already consented to lead me down the aisle." She rose up, grabbed Liam's hand, and left Grandma's home. The next day, my phone rang at work. For the first time in 10 years, I heard Emma's voice on the phone. She didn't say hi or introduce herself. "I don't want you to come. I questioned, who is this? I recognized who it was. Emma said, I mean it. I do not want you to come. I said, Marie, that cannot be. She has not made a phone call in 10 years. Who is this? Emma answered, yes, it's Marie. I make phone calls, just not to you, but this is crucial. If you attend the wedding, you will spoil everything. I wondered, will I destroy everything by doing what the bride and groom requested me to do? How could this be? Emma said, Mama won't come if you're there. Mama was essential in Sophia's upbringing. Mama has been there for her throughout her life. You have not. I do not want you there. I said, could you phone me back after 4? I need to think about your request and I hope you will call me back. Can you do that? There was a delay before Emma answered, yes, he'll call you at 4. I contacted Sophia and said, honey, I do want you and Liam to take your mom out to supper. I will pay for supper. I want the 4 of us to chat. She shouldn't know I'll be there. This is essential to me and I believe it is also important to both of you. How about going to El Patio? Mom enjoys the restaurant. Tonight, about 6:30. Sophia agreed and I said, yes, we will be there. It would be great if Grandma had no idea where you were going. At 4, the phone rang. Emma said, so, what is your answer? I responded, hello. Emma inquired, my response is that I would want to talk with your bishop before consenting to not attend the wedding. I've always loved Alan before he became bishop and I want his guidance. Will you meet with me and Alan? Emma said, no, I don't want this spoken about all over the church. This is a private matter between us. I responded, do you think anybody will notice if the father of the bride isn't at her wedding? Won't that spark conversation? Aren't bishops supposed to keep communications private? Besides, are you afraid Mama will spank you? Emma said, I will not meet with him. I don't want to see you, either. I still seek his guidance. In going to meet with him whether or not you're there. I said, if you decide you want to go, please let me know. In fact, phone me and offer me 2 or 3 times when you'd want to meet with us and I'll make sure to schedule an appointment for one of them. Emma said, I will not call you back. I will not meet with you or Alan. I said, so, when can I call you back to give you my response? Emma said, can't you give me your answer right now? I said, my response now is that I will be there. I'll lead Sophia down the aisle if you want to. Take your request seriously, I need time and we'll need to chat again. Call me at home on Monday morning. Emma responds, no, you call me here at work on Monday morning. I said, I will. She hung up. I phoned Alan and we spoke for about an hour. Had known Emma and her mother for as long as I had. His counsel was succinct. I look forward to seeing you at the wedding. When I came inside El Patio, I saw Sophia had made sure Emma sat away from the door. I approached their table and sat next to Liam, across from Emma and Sophia. Emma said, what are you doing here? I replied, I'm paying for supper. Isn't it appropriate for a guy to purchase supper for his daughter, her fiancé, and his ex? Emma said, I want to go home. I have lost my appetite. Sophia glanced at her mother and said, eat or don't eat, that's up to you. I remarked, it's 8 p.m. and you didn't drive. We wanted to chat to you and I thought it would be wonderful to have a meal while we spoke. Liam said, what's there to speak about? I said, how about the wedding? At that point, the waitress arrived and we took a minute to order. It had been years since I had gone to El Patio with Emma, but I recalled her usually ordering the chicken tostada salad. She glanced over the menu for a half-minute before ordering the chicken tostada salad. I ordered chicken enchiladas. When the waiter had left, Liam said, what about the wedding? I questioned Sophia, did you inform Emma that you called me at work today? Sophia looked to her mother, saying, you did. Emma responded, yes, I called to ask him not to come to the wedding. Sophia remarked, isn't this my wedding? Emma said, yes, but you're making a mistake. Ethan shouldn't be in it. Sophia wondered, why wasn't Dad involved in that? He never came by or called. Emma said, oh, but he did, Mom. I have seen the phone records. Hundreds of phone calls lasting less than a minute that I never received. Grandma stated we weren't home and she never left me messages. That's not true, Emma insisted. I took photocopies from my briefcase and gave them to Emma, years' worth of phone records. As she looked at them, I remarked, out in my vehicle, I have photographs of every birthday, Christmas, and other gift I gave to the home and received back. I bet you know the handwriting on the parcels that reads "Return to sender." It's your mother's. I was not in Sophia's life because someone wanted me to go. I discovered a means to deliver the gifts to her, although it was not simple. Emma studied the overwhelming evidence in front of her and returned the copies to me. Our entries came, and we ate silently. Finally, Sophia questioned, "Do you still want me to tell Daddy not to come to my wedding? Do you still believe that Grandma was so wonderful to me and us that I should give in to her wishes? She damaged my childhood for selfish reasons. She separated me from my father, and the bad guy still wants me to abandon him." I responded if it was possible, I would throw her out of my life. Sophia nodded. "She's my mother." I set down my fork, glanced across to Emma, and said, "Okay, there is your mother. What are you ready to give up so that I might get compensation for missing Sophia's wedding?" Emma glanced at me as if she did not understand. I said, "Yes, you want me to give up something enormous, something tremendous, something that every father wants to be a part of. What will I get?" "What do you want?" Emma said, "Nothing. I want to be there. I want to wear a tuxedo and proudly lead my daughter down the aisle to Liam. That is what I desire. If you want me to give that up, you must compensate me." She stopped for a time before saying, "I don't know what I could give you." I sat calmly and waited. Liam said, "Does Ethan still send you a check every month?" Emma said, "Yes, as part of our divorce settlement, he pays me alimony each month. He is still paying." Liam said, "Would you be willing to change the court order and stop receiving alimony?" Emma said, "I need that money." Liam said, "So, what are you willing to give up?" Emma was silent for a long time. The waitress arrived and I handed her a credit card for supper. Marie turned to Sophia and stated, "Having Ethan there will destroy the day for Mama and me. He ought to notice it and not be present." Sophia said, "Your mom may go stuff that up her buttocks now. Tell me what he'd need to provide you to get you to remain at home." Emma gave her a frown. "I would not remain home. You are my daughter. I want to be there when you marry." Sophia said, "I feel the same way. Your mother has despised me for the last 28 years. To my mind, she planned and terminated our marriage, not my time in the military or my disabilities. It has come down to her choosing whether she will attend Sophia's wedding or I will. Now I am putting it on you. I'll tell you what I'll accept. I'll stay away on the wedding day if you show me an updated court ruling that terminates alimony permanently. And if you spend the weekend in my bed having sex with me." Emma's cheeks flushed crimson. "I can't." She yelled it so loudly that everyone in El Patio turned to stare at her. I said, "Why not? I've been paying you as a hooker with no service for a very long time. Why not utilize your service right now? Are you a virgin?" "I do not think so. You have had sex with me before." "I remember." I stopped and went on. "I'll make reservations at the Blue Lantern in Santa Barbara, and no one except the four of us will ever know." Liam was trying hard not to grin. Sophia had never heard me discuss my sex life with her mother before. She was startled, yet she glanced at me, not her mother. "I can't," Emma said, pausing to consider what she may tell her mother. I said, "Tell her that the price for me staying away was that you would give up alimony forever. You don't have to tell her about the Golden Sands Lodge, which makes you feel safer." Emma said, "I haven't had sex with anybody in the last 3 months. I got a comprehensive physical 2 months ago, and apart from some minor issues with a poor shoulder, I am healthy and disease-free. I need to think." I responded, "Okay, Liam, I believe supper is over. You'll know her decision when she phones to say no or when I get the court order and a message indicating which weekend before the wedding to make bookings at the inn. You will be notified as soon as I know." I shook Liam's hand and embraced Sophia before kissing her farewell. I stood with my arms outstretched, waiting a few seconds for Emma to decide what to do. She remained in her chair. I left. 10 days later, I received a letter from the court informing me that the court order for spousal support had been cancelled and providing a copy of the new court order. I consulted with my attorney, who informed me that alimony had expired and could not be renewed under the terms of the agreement. 2 days later, Emma called and said, "I changed the court order." I said, "Yes, thank you. I've had my calendar open." "Which dates?" Emma remarked, "Well, stay at this inn for 2 days. During our stay, I agree to have sex with you once. You do not make any decisions. I'll determine what to do with you. We will be provided breakfast in our accommodation both mornings. We'll go out for lunch and supper at excellent sit-down restaurants, but otherwise you'll be nude in the room with me, ready for as much sex as I want." I said, "I'm not sure whether I can have a lot of sex. I've never been in bed with anybody other than you." Emma said, "I'll take care of it. Sometimes you are so mean. Some people think that infants are born by spontaneous combustion. Look around the church this Sunday. All of the children were the result of sexual activity. God made it feel good for a reason." I chuckled. "What if I can't do it?" She said, "Then I rent a tux. I have reserved it. That is why we are going before the wedding." I said, "Okay, the weekend of the 20th, done. I will make the bookings today. You may inform Sophia that you have agreed." "Where will I meet you?" Emma said, "Send your mother to the shop or anything. On Friday afternoon, I will arrive to your front door and transfer your bag to the vehicle. I'll bring you back on Sunday when your mother attends church." Emma didn't sound pleased. Sophia phoned me in the evening. "Daddy, Mum tells me she gave up the alimony." I responded she did, and I have the court order framed and hanging on the wall in my bathroom. Sophia said, "Did she agree to the other as well?" I responded yes, she picked dates and everything. Sophia said, "She doesn't want me at the wedding." I responded, "Sweetheart, I'm glad she gave up the alimony, but I want you at the wedding." Sophia said, "I've been thinking about it. How significant is the ceremony for you and Liam?" "Mike has no relatives out here to see. He moved out here for education, and his parents and relatives cannot afford to attend the wedding. Mom and Grandma appear to be all into the entertainment. They are concerned about what others will say if I choose various colors, flowers, or a clothing that is not all white." I said, "Call Liam, please. See if he'd be prepared to fly us back to his home and marry there. A simple ceremony with no frills, just love. If you two agree, I'll purchase the tickets and we'll go. If that's the case, I'll still get to lead you down the aisle." Sophia said, "Oh, Daddy, excellent idea. I will call you back." She phoned me back about half an hour later. The wedding would still happen on the same day as scheduled, but instead of in San Diego, it would be in Maine. Sophia contacted me the following day at work and said, "Are you still going to take Mom to that place in Santa Barbara?" I said, "What is your honest answer?" "Yes. I've always enjoyed having sex with your mother, and I miss it. She's promised me 2 days of eager sex. I promised not to attend the wedding here in LA on Friday the 19th. My phone rang at 9 a.m. The caller ID displayed Emma's phone number. I responded professionally. It was Grandma. She inquired, "What are you up to?" I said, "Excuse me, who is this?" Grandma said, "Margaret. You're such a hole. You defrauded Emma out of her alimony, and I believe there is more. Emma has been behaving suspiciously over the past several days, and I saw on the phone bill today that she has been phoning you. Have you asked her about the calls?" I said, "What good would that do? You have the phone records there in front of you. Do you suppose she paid me off to make you happy, and it just took a few phone calls? It would not take that many, especially for someone like you." Grandma said, "But perhaps your daughter isn't as astute as you about such matters." I said, "You simply phoned to confirm that we spoke." Grandma responded, "No, I want to make sure you're nowhere near the chapel on the 27th. I said, "First and foremost, you must understand that you cannot force me to do anything. You may have power over your daughter, but that is the extent of it. The next time you call me, you should respect that name. Besides, just to make you happy, I have an airline ticket leaving LAX on the 25th and returning on the 30th. It'll be nearly 1,000 miles away. You are welcome to come to LAX and witness me go." Will this make you happy? Grandma said it cost us thousands of dollars for you to travel. You better leave. I said, has anybody ever told you how harsh and controlling you try to be? Grandma said, just your opinion. It's not worth much around here. I said, you've certainly made sure that's true. Grandma said nothing in return, so I hung up. 30 seconds later, the phone rings again. I let it go to the answering machine. My baggage was in the vehicle. Marie phoned and said that her mother had gone to a church meeting and would be gone until 5:30. I got to the front porch at 4:30 p.m. Marie answered the door and gave me a tiny luggage. She looked terrific. She was wearing a shirtwaist dress with a flowery design made of silk. She wore 2-inch heels with stockings. Her hair was newly done, and she also got her nails done. I opened the vehicle door for her and remarked, "You look really nice." She smiled and said, "Thank you." She sat down and I fastened her seatbelt. I went to my door, got inside, and drove away. I could have drove past the chapel to reach the expressway, but I did not. I took her another direction. Marie did not speak until we were on the expressway. She began to relax as we went farther away from her house. "So, what can we speak about?" she asked. I asked, "Tell me about what you actually like doing." My recollections are ancient, and what you used to appreciate could have altered. She paused for a bit before saying, "I still like movies. I mostly watch movies on TV, although we sometimes go to the theater." We spent the majority of the journey discussing about movies we'd watched. We also discussed food. I recalled that in the past, I loved to lay my hand on her thigh while driving. I also recalled that if I just placed my hand on her leg, she would leap and shriek in surprise. "Marie, don't jump, I am placing my hand on your leg." I did not seek for permission. I hadn't inquired when we were married. My hand felt totally at home on your thigh. I saw her glancing at my hand. She did not say anything, but after a time, she reached over and placed her hand on top of mine. We parked next to the Golden Sands Lodge, and Marie glanced around. "It's a beautiful building," she told me, "that sits atop a bluff overlooking the harbor and the ocean." I checked us in and handled both bags. Marie stood close, embarrassed on the elevator. I said, "No one knows we aren't still married." They gaze at us, wondering how an old fart like me got a babe like you. She grinned and remarked, "You are so full of it." I opened the door to our room, and she took a deep breath. "The room is beautiful," she remarked. I'd been in the same room a few years before with a lady I believed may become Mrs. Ethan, but all that remained of our relationship was a pleasant recollection in the Blue Lantern. I put the bags on the racks and opened them. I hung her things in the closet and mine next to them. When I turned around, Marie was standing by the bed, her hands on the top buttons of her dress. She looked at the bed. I approached her and embraced her in my arms. I murmured softly, "Relax. We need to go to supper. Will you be warm enough to sit outdoors and eat?" She packed a sweater. We ate at a fantastic seafood restaurant right on the ocean. We watched the sunset and seabirds sail off to wherever they spend the night. Before returning to the inn, we strolled hand in hand at first, then with my arm around her and her arm around mine. She started talking. "I believe the happiest I ever seen my mother was the day you moved out." I sobbed virtually all day, and she walked about my home as if she owned it. When I got home from work, she would behave as if she had the finest secret in the world, until I examined the phone records. I never knew what the secret was. When Daniel informed Mom he saw you at a soccer game, she threatened to cease giving him money if he continued to visit you. He didn't tell me that until last year, when my father died. I listened as she continued. I assumed she would grieve and lament for a long time. About 2 months after his death, she said, "I barely miss him at all. He no longer bothers me. I had been missing you every day and night for more than 3 years." How could she say that about my father? We continued walking. The procedure worked well for her. She eventually turned us toward the vehicle and said, "Can we return to our room? I would like to cuddle with you in bed." We returned to our room. The bed was freshly made, and a dish with 2 large chocolate chip cookies rested on it. I made a fire in the fireplace and we undressed. We sat on the bed, and I leaned against the headboard. Marie snuggled against me, and we ate our cookies while watching the fire. Even when the cookies were gone, we sat and watched the fire. Marie apologized softly, almost whispering, "Ethan, I apologize. For throwing you aside. For thinking I didn't love you even though Mom insisted I didn't. For not finding methods to involve you in Daniel and Sophia's lives." I said, "Before I say I forgive you, I have a question. What are you planning to do about it?" She turned to face me, kissed me, and said, "I'd like you to walk Sophia down the aisle. I want you to vacate your flat and return to your hometown. I want to marry you again." I grinned and said, "Are you sure about all that? Are you sure you don't merely want to spend the occasional weekend at the beach?" She said, "I'm certain. One of the reasons I didn't want to commit to this weekend was because I knew I loved you. I knew as you wrapped your arms around me, I would melt. I'm frightened of Mama and the torment she'll put us through, but having you back will be worthwhile." I said, "Where does she think you are?" Marie said, "I left her a note saying I needed to get away and think things through. She presumably believes him with Henry and Isabel in Big Bear Lake. When I ran away to contemplate in the past, that's where I went." She responded, "By now, she knows that's not where you are." Marie smiled gently. "I understand. While we were driving down here, I saw my vehicle was in the garage at home. She understands I am not alone." Marie hesitated. "I need to speak to Liam, Sophia, and Daniel, too. My brother Edward believes he is leading Sophia down the aisle. I am going to be on the phone for days." I said, "Stop. Please. Our weekend is not done. I'd like to think that the world, our world, is on pause until tomorrow afternoon. Right now, there is Ethan and Marie. The rest will work out tomorrow." We snuggled beneath the blankets and fell asleep together. We awoke throughout the night and rejoined. We came together in the dark in a passionate, almost animalistic way. At 9, there was a knock on the door. I grabbed a robe, put it on, opened the door, and let the lady with our breakfast inside. Marie remained beneath the blankets till she left. She rose, combed her hair, and joined me on the balcony. We ate and observed boats, birds, and people at the marina. When she was ready, Marie said, "Can we make love one more before we go out?" I said, "Here or inside?" She said, "Inside. I won't be an exhibitionist if we do it here where no one can see." I said, "How is that an exhibition?" Marie grinned. "Inside, please." I followed her within. We moved slowly and hammered against each other. We bathed again and dressed for the ride home. Marie inquired whether I preferred she wear a dress or shorts. I chose the dress. As she dressed, I requested her to keep the panties in the luggage. She glanced at me as if I was odd. Then she grinned and returned them to the suitcase. We packed and left the room. I paid the bill and then we loaded the vehicle. The woman behind the counter accompanied us to our vehicle and handed us 2 additional large chocolate chip cookies for the journey. As we traveled, I could see Marie was preparing to face her mother when we got home. "You know, I've been thinking about what happens when we get home," she told me. "Mama is going to be so angry." I nodded. "Let us have a run-through. Pretend I'm your mother. You go in and she asks, 'Where have you been?' Marie said, 'I went away to think.' You didn't specify where or when you'd be returning." I said, "I am over 21. Mom, do I still need to check in with you for permission?" Marie inquired, "It's only basic politeness to let me know where you are and when you'll return. Do you do this for me?" I replied, "Mostly, but now that I'm back, I'd like to talk to you about decisions I've made." Marie said, "Decisions you've made or decisions you want to make?" I said, "Decisions I have made. The first is that I want you to return your belongings to your residence. You've been behaving as if you live in 2 residences. You do not reside here." "I do. I want my key back." She glanced at me with horror and bewilderment. "If I do that, you'll be all alone," she added. I said forcefully, "My business, not yours. Can you get out by tomorrow night?" Marie paused before saying, "No, you'll need assistance. Edward works every day. I will engage a mover to pack your belongings and transport them back to your home. Or maybe the bishop can send a few of guys who need to do some duty. I said, what's the hurry? Someone else is moving in. Marie responded, I want them in as soon as possible, so I won't be alone for more than a few hours. I inquired, who is moving in? Marie remarked, Ethan is returning. Ethan? I inquired, shocked. We got rid of him once. We got him out of our life, and I assumed it was for good. Marie said, yes, Mom, you believed you had him out of our life. I know about all the phone calls you didn't tell me about. I know about all of the gifts you returned. I know how you undermined whatever opportunity we had to get things out back then. I could see the agony in her eyes. Lies. You have filled my brain with falsehoods. And he had the phone company create bogus phone records. He photographed bogus shipments with your handwriting on the boxes reading no such person at this address. No, Mom, you did it. I hesitated briefly before continuing. Do you want him to lead Sophia down the aisle, too? Marie said, yes, I do. Then none of us will be present. Edward, along with his family, will not be attending. Linda and her family won't be present. I absolutely will not be there. She hesitated before continuing, you've exploited me my whole life to do anything you wanted. Not this time. Even if just Sophia, Liam, Ethan, and I attend, it will still be a wedding. I remained silent for a minute, allowing the weight of her words to sink in. Then I added, I want you to consider this. Liam's family cannot attend the wedding. They cannot afford it. They adore him. How about if we traveled to Maine and held the wedding there? Marie's eyes softened. Oh, Ethan. That fixes the whole issue. Anyone who wishes to come may travel to Maine and participate. Mama may remain here and be completely virtuous if she wishes. I said, do you think Sophia would agree with it? I gave her my mobile phone and said, Sophia, this is your mom. Can you sit down and chat with me, honey? The whole family here is ready to be furious with me and with you. Do you believe Liam's family could plan a wedding in their hometown on short notice? Marie's voice quivered slightly. Oh, honey, call Liam and have him contact his family. Call me back on Ethan's cell phone. Yes, we're back together, I said loudly enough that Sophia could hear me. I asked her if there might be a double wedding. Sophia let out a shriek over the phone before hanging up. We stopped on the side of the road for a few minutes until my phone rang again. Marie responded. They gushed at each other for 10 minutes before promising to speak again in an hour. We drove to the home after Liam and Sophia arrived. I saw the curtain shift as Margaret checked to see whether Marie was home. She noticed my vehicle and she watched me step out and open the door for Marie to exit. I retrieved her luggage and she suggested I should bring mine as well so she could wash my laundry and begin moving me in. I followed her through the door. Margaret stood in the center of the living room, fists on her hips, her face flushed with rage. Why is he here? She almost yelled. Marie stared at her, calm but stern, and said, this is your home. Then I may invite whomever I choose into my house. Margaret stared. Mother, I want Ethan here. If you want to chat, you will have to wait. I need to start the washing. Margaret sat in a rocking rocker, which she had in her living room before moving it to Marie's. I sat on the sofa. Marie returned, sat alongside me, and started to explain. Mother, we've moved the wedding. There was too much rage and disappointment about the wedding not going your way or being your way. Sophia wants Ethan to lead her down the aisle. You vowed to boycott the wedding if he was there. Well, the wedding is still on Saturday at 1 p.m., just not here. We're heading to Maine and Thea'll marry in Liam's hometown. His uncle is the bishop and he will perform the honors. That manner, the wedding will not be filled with bad energy. Margaret sighed. I won't be there. Marie said, I know. He'll notify everyone we invited of the change of venue. They may choose whether or not to visit Maine. Either way, we're getting married. Marie stared at her mother and her voice was composed but firm. I won't be here when you get back. Margaret didn't say anything, but her cheeks flushed with frustration. Marie then said, can you get out by tomorrow afternoon? Margaret stood, visibly surprised. What? Do you have a house? Can you bring everything you need and arrive there tomorrow afternoon? Marie said, are you tossing me out? In a kind way, she said. Margaret gazed with bewilderment. Yes, we need the space for Ethan to return home. He may begin bringing his belongings back when he returns from work tomorrow. Margaret sneered, he is moving back in, but you are no longer married. Marie responded at isn't against the law for us to shack up for a week. Margaret gave a gasp. What do you mean by a week? Marie said, the bishop will marry us right after Sophia and Liam's wedding on Saturday. This is simply wrong. I agree, Marie said gently. I apologize for what went wrong. I wanted to think that my mother would never do something that was against my best interests. I hoped that your love for me would inspire you to constantly watch out for me. When you said I didn't love Ethan, I believed you. When you disguised his efforts to keep in contact and engaged, I trusted you. When you stated he hadn't phoned, I was mistaken and I apologized. Marie shed tears as she talked. Margaret sat in a rocking rocker, looking like she'd been smacked. I have always loved you, Margaret replied gently, her voice shaking. Everything I have ever done has been for your benefit. Marie said, you determined before we were married that you didn't like Ethan. I knew it. Ethan was well aware of this. Everyone in the household was aware of the situation. How can it be considered supportive? How does this benefit my life? Margaret remained mute. Marie said, has never been good enough for you. He still is not. The church says I should marry, have children, raise them to be decent people, and support my guy. My mother believes I should only marry the guy she chooses, have children with him, and stay by his side. Margaret swallowed hard but did not speak. Marie stared at her mother and said, did you let mother choose your husband? She approved of Kurt, correct? Margaret nodded. She liked him. She believed we should wait till he was out of the army to marry, but she liked him. Marie said, did you love him? Of course I loved him, Margaret said. Marie said, really? Well, I was gone this weekend. I thought a lot about what I observed between you and my father. I never saw you stroll hand in hand with him. I never saw you kissing him. I saw you peck him on the cheek many times, but I never saw you kiss. She halted and looked her mother in the eyes. I witnessed you tell him what to get you for Christmas and then claim he bought the incorrect item when you received precisely what you asked for. How did you express your affection for him? What was the example you offered Edward, Linda, and myself of how to show a spouse love? Margaret opened her lips but paused, the words caught in her throat. Marie went on, you warned me Ethan was too upfront about his feelings. You made me feel like Ethan was doing something bad by kissing me in front of the kids. You said I shouldn't enjoy sex with him. You said that sex was not about pleasure. It was for making babies. Marie took a deep breath and said firmly, well, Mother, you were mistaken. Sex is one way Ethan and I express our devotion. It serves to bring us closer together. One of the reasons I want you to move out is so Ethan and I may have more sex without worrying whether you are listening. She hesitated. I want to walk around the house naked because Ethan likes looking at me naked. Margaret's face became pale and she said nothing. I don't want to listen to this, Margaret remarked, shaking her head. Marie stood up. He has corrupted your thinking. I glanced at Margaret and said, you don't need to hear this. You may collect your belongings and return home, Mother. If it's too much work for you, we may contact the bishop, who will send a few men from the congregation to assist you in packing and moving your belongings to your new home. I glanced at Marie. I do not want you to sleep here tonight. I want Ethan to sleep here tonight. And tomorrow night, and every night thereafter. Marie gazed at her mother. If you do this, you will lose your mother. Margaret's eyes narrowed. I've spent my whole life making sure you were happy. Marie said, now it's time to make sure I'm happy. Margaret eventually got up and replied, fine, then. You have made your decision. Marie said, I chose to be Ethan's wife. He's the father of my children. He loves me and I adore him. We want to love you and have you in our life, but only if you are kind and supporting. Margaret's lip twitched. You'll regret this. Marie bowed quietly and added, Mom, you've twisted me for too long. I'll miss you, but I have to live my life. Margaret turned and walked out of the room, allowing us to begin the next chapter. Thank you for watching. What do you think? Can family connections actually heal? Share your opinions in the comments and remember to like and subscribe.